How y'all doing? I'm the Watchman, and this is part two of the Alabaster box, the truth behind Mary Magdalene and her precious gift. Now, right when we left off, I'm gonna pick up right where I left off in part one. Right we left off in part one, we seen that Mary's love for Christ was was just no ordinary love. Was just no ordinary love. I believe it surpassed the love that you will have for a friend. It surpassed the love that you will have for a spouse. But I believe her love was actually the love between a daughter and her father, you know, between a child and their parent, because sons and dads is close, tight knit too, you know. Her love is actually the true love between a child and a parent, to where, when your little one is one or two, or even three, four, they only want to be around you. And they only, you're their everything. You are their all, And that's why I believe that the love that Mary had, especially after her first meeting with Christ, here he saved her life. He cleansed her from seven devils. Cleansed her from seven devils. Really, he showed her love, something that she had been missing for years. Something that she had been missing for years. Because I want to bring up the fact that Mary grew up in the church. Mary knew the word. She grew up in the church. She just strayed like a lot of us do. She strayed like a lot of us do. So not only did Christ save her, not only did he cleanse her of seven demons and forgive her, but he also showed her and gave her love, pure love, true love, something that she had not been used to in years. So I believe at that moment in time, right after their first meeting, Mary's love for God quadrupled and quadrupled, you know what I mean? And it was evident because we'll see that after that, she never left his feet. She rarely ever left the feet of Christ. She rarely ever left his feet, just like a child to a parent. All right. Now, immediately after Christ cleansed Mary, he gave a sermon. So not only did she get cleansed of the seven demons, he just immediately, I'm talking about immediately after he was talking to her, he turned around and started talking to everybody else. Because the only people who left were those who accused Mary. There were other people there, but the only people who walked away and left were Mary's accusers, those who at once had a fling with Mary and wanted to see her die. You know what I mean? But he immediately turned around and gave a sermon. So now Mary get to listen to Christ. It's like this was her first sermon that she ever heard from Jesus. And now she has a clear mind. So not only does she get to hear it, but she has a clear mind while she's listening to it. You know what I mean? Demon free, clear mind. Let me raise that. And while she's listening, and being that she realizes that she's in the presence of God, we know she listened to every word with the utmost greatest importance. Now, you gotta really honestly think about it. Just a couple minutes before he starts his sermon, it just hit Mary that she was in the presence of God. So you gotta imagine and think about it. And now he just set her free from bondage, from being tormented emotionally, mentally. We couldn't imagine having demons inside of us. So now she's free from bondage. So we can imagine how Christ's sermon that she's just about to hear, how she hung on to every word. And I want to reiterate, we're going to look at some key points in this sermon. We have to look at some key points in this sermon because there's some things that Christ states in this sermon that is evident that Mary never forgot them. It's evident that she never forgot him. Even when his disciples forgot certain things and did certain things, there are key points in this sermon that Mary never forgot. And I believe it's because once she realized, like I say, once she realized she was in the presence of God, and she was so grateful of being set free from her bondage, that it was like she remembered, it was like being born again. And, it was like her first Christmas or whatever, something she would never forget. And I believe this sermon was something that she never forgot. But I just want to highlight, you know what I mean? I want to highlight the key points, the key points that I believe she held on to, Now, the first key point that she heard in her first sermon from Christ was Jesus telling the people, I am the light of the world. And we see that in John 8:12. John 8:12. The whole sermon is in John 8. In John 8:12 says, Jesus then spake unto them, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. The second point she heard from Christ is, I am from above. I'm not of this world. Verse 23. Romans 8 verse 23. And he said unto them, ye are from beneath, I am from above. Ye are of this world, I am not of this world. You know what I mean? The third point is, if you continue in his word, you are a disciple of his, and the truth will set you free. And that's John 8:31 through 32. 31 through 32. If you continue in his word, you are his disciples, and the truth shall set you free. And she knew this to be a fact because she was just set free by the truth. So you know she knew this to be a fact. You know what I mean? 4. Jesus proceeded forth and came from God himself. That Jesus proceeded forth and came from God himself. And that is in verse, let's see. I forgot to write down that verse. That is in verse 42. Where Jesus says, if God were your father, you would love me, for I proceeded forth and came from God. Neither came I of myself, but he sent me. Now, these are all crucial points that Mary's steady taking in. Now, remember, she knows these things, and she's believing them without a shadow of a doubt. She's not like the other people who are listening, like, he sounds like a good teacher, man, She's listening from the point of view, like, you're God. So she's taking everything in with the greatest of importance, as she has just realized moments before the sermon that this is God, that Christ is God. All right. The fifth one was that before Abraham was Christ himself. And we see this in verse 58. Verse 58, where Jesus saith unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, before Abraham was, I am. Now, I wanted to bring up these key points because there are certain things that we're going to look at that Mary did following all of this, following her first meeting with Christ, that shows that she never forgot these key points and that she believed these key points with all of her heart. All right. Now, the story of the alabaster box is one of the only stories in the Bible told in all 4 Gospels. Each Gospel tells the reaction from a different group or person that was present. You know what I mean? Turn your Bibles to Matthew 14. Let's go to Matthew 14. Matthew 14, and we're going to look at verse 6. Matthew 14, verse 6. Here I go, talking about Matthew 14. Matthew 26. Go to Matthew 26, and we're going to start at verse 6. Matthew 26, and we're going to start at verse 6. Now when Jesus was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when the disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, to what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. For ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. For in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, whithersoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this woman have done be told for a memorial of her. Now, as we see, this told the disciples' reaction to it. And the disciples' reaction to it was they had indignation inside themselves. Indignation. They actually hated and had personal, like she offended them personally. Indignation mean she offended them personally, you know. And the what I want you to check is in verse 8, where it says, to what purpose were they said amongst themselves? To what purpose is this waste? And it doesn't even say they said amongst themselves, but it says they had indignation, saying. I mean, they could have just been saying it. So for somebody to hear, to what purpose is this waste? Can you ever waste anything on Christ? You know, look at what his disciple here. Christ is about to die. He's been telling them and warning them, I'm about to die. I'm about to be crucified. And here a woman comes in and shows him the utmost honor and respect, and they consider it a waste. Let me get back to that. Turn your Bibles with me to Mark 14. So Matthew, the recollection of the alabaster box in Matthew shows the disciples' reaction to what Mary did. Let's go to Mark 14. Mark 14, verse 3. Mark 14, verses 3 through 9 shows everybody in the room's response. And we're going to read. And being in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, as he sat at meat, there came a woman having an alabaster box of ointment of spikenard, very precious, and she brake the box and poured it on his head. And there were some that had indignation within themselves. We know that disciples were included, and said, why was this waste of the ointment made? For it might have been sold for more than 300 pence, and having been given to the poor. And they murmured against her. And Jesus said, let her alone. Why trouble ye her? She hath wrought a good work on me. For ye have the poor with you always, and whensoever ye will, ye may do them good. But me ye have not always. She hath done what she could. She is come aforehand to anoint my body to the burying. Verily I say unto you, whithersoever this gospel shall be preached throughout the whole world, this also that she have done shall be spoken for a memorial of her. Now we see that not only did the disciples have indignation, but also others in the room. And then it says, and they murmured against her. And you know, when you murmur something, you're not keeping it in. You're actually talking like, I can't believe, you're not being loud, but you're actually saying it into where she could hear it, murmur. And you're steady telling, I can't believe what, and that's the murmur, because you're just spreading it. I can't believe what she said. You might go to the bathroom, tell the person in the bathroom, man, I can't believe what she out there doing. And after you tell him in the bathroom, then you go in the kitchen because you want to get you a refreshment. You go in the kitchen, the person standing next to the refreshment, first thing you gonna tell, man, I can't believe it. You steady murmuring, you steady spreading it. Hey, now before I get to the recollection of the alabaster box in John and in Luke, you know what I mean, I'm gonna just say it forehand because we're gonna look at those further in part 3. I gotta spend more time on these two, but the recollection of the alabaster box in Luke foretells the reaction of the Pharisee, and the one in John tells the reaction of Judas. And then also in part 3, we're gonna look at did she know that she was actually anointing Christ for his burial, or was she just showing him love and honor? But did she know that she was showing him that she was actually anointing him, getting him ready for his crucifixion, for his burial? But anyway, now back to the reaction of the disciples, which personally is heartbreaking, because I know how Jesus felt. Here are your disciples. This is your church. This is your followers. These are the Christians. Now each reaction that we see is a reaction of the Christians who aren't giving their all to Christ. Each reaction is a reaction of Christians in the church who aren't giving their all to Christ. These are the reactions that they will have when they see you giving your all. But isn't it a shame that here they thought it was a waste to give your all? Because like Christ told her in Mark 14 verse 8, she had done what she could. She gave her whole yearly salary, y'all. Could you imagine giving your whole yearly salary to Christ? Well, she did, and they was like, wow, you just wasted all that money. How can you ever waste anything on God? That had to be heartbreaking to Christ. That had to break his heart.